starlit sanctuary. The private road wound upward through dense forest, each curve revealing glimpses of mountains beyond. Arya watched through the car window as civilization gradually receded, replaced by towering pines and rugged terrain. After nearly an hour's drive, they crested a final hill, and Theron's observatory came into view. Observatory seemed an inadequate description for the structure before them. A modern masterpiece of glass and sustainable materials perched on the mountainside, its central dome gleaming in the late afternoon sun. The main building curved organically into the landscape, as if it had grown from the mountain itself rather than being constructed upon it. "It's beautiful," Arya murmured, momentarily forgetting her usual reserve. "Form following function," Theron replied, though she detected a hint of pride in his voice. "The position offers minimal light pollution and optimal atmospheric conditions for observation." The car pulled to a smooth stop at the entrance, where glass doors slid open silently at their approach. Inside, the space opened into a vast atrium filled with natural light from skylights above. Living plants grew strategically throughout, creating an environment that felt both technological and organic. "My primary residence and research facility," Theron explained, leading her through the space. "The observatory dome houses a telescope of my own design with capabilities beyond anything currently available to academic institutions." Arya followed, trying to absorb the details while managing the lingering anxiety from the exhibition incident. The quietness here helped. No crowds, no overwhelming stimuli, just the subtle sounds of an advanced ventilation system and their footsteps on polished stone floors. "You live here alone?" she asked, noticing the absence of staff or other researchers. "Not entirely." Something in his tone suggested complexity beyond the simple answer. "My core research team visits regularly, but they're currently off-site. The facility is largely automated, requiring minimal personnel for daily operations." They entered a spacious room that clearly served as his primary research space. Holographic displays hovered over workstations, showing star charts and complex equations that Arya recognized as related to quantum field theory. Her fingers itched to examine the calculations more closely. They aligned remarkably with her own research. "You mentioned complementary interests," she said, gesturing toward the displays. "These equations suggest you're exploring quantum entanglement on a macro scale, beyond laboratory conditions." Theron studied her for a moment, as if making a final assessment before committing to a decision. Whatever he saw in her expression must have satisfied him, because he nodded once decisively. "Dr. Novak." "Arya, please," she interrupted, feeling uncomfortable with formality in this intimate setting. "Arya," he amended. "What I'm about to show you requires absolute discretion. It goes beyond theoretical research and could potentially alter your understanding of our place in the universe." The dramatic statement should have sounded theatrical, but Theron's matter-of-fact delivery gave it weight. Arya hesitated only briefly before nodding her agreement. "I can be discreet." Theron approached a seemingly ordinary wall and pressed his palm against its surface. A hidden door slid open, revealing a corridor that sloped gently downward into the mountain itself. Cool air wafted from the opening, carrying a subtle fragrance Arya couldn't identify, something floral yet unfamiliar. "This way," he said, gesturing for her to follow. The corridor opened into a large chamber that stopped Arya in her tracks. The circular room was illuminated with soft light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, casting everything in a gentle glow. The temperature was noticeably warmer than the rest of the facility, and the air carried that same unidentifiable scent, stronger now. But what captured Arya's complete attention was the being seated at a workstation in the center of the room. Humanoid in general form, this figure had skin the color of twilight, a luminous purple that seemed to shift subtly with movement. Where a human would have hair, this being had what appeared to be tendrils that resembled delicate filaments, cascading down its back in a silver-purple shimmer. When it turned at their entrance, Arya saw a face that was almost human in structure, but with differences that couldn't be dismissed. Larger, more luminous eyes set in a face with more pronounced angles and subtle ridges where a human's forehead would be smooth. "Theron," the being greeted in a melodic voice that seemed to contain harmonics beyond normal human speech. "You've brought a guest." "This is Arya Novak," Theron replied, his tone warmer than Arya had yet heard it. "A theoretical astrophysicist whose research aligns with our project. Arya, this is Lyria." Arya stood frozen, her scientific mind racing to process what her eyes were seeing. An extraterrestrial life form. Not a theory, not a possibility, but an actual alien life form standing before her in a secret chamber beneath a private observatory in the Pacific Northwest. "You're not from Earth," she finally managed, immediately regretting the obvious statement. Lyria's features arranged themselves into what appeared to be a smile, revealing teeth that glowed with a faint bioluminescence. "An accurate observation, Dr. Novak. I come from a world orbiting a star your astronomers designate HD 40307, approximately 42 light-years from your solar system." The casual confirmation of intelligent extraterrestrial life, delivered as if discussing the weather, momentarily overwhelmed Arya's capacity for response. She reached for the wall to steady herself, feeling lightheaded. "Perhaps we should sit," Theron suggested, guiding her to a seating area arranged near Lyria's workstation. "The initial adjustment can be challenging." Once seated, Arya found her scientific curiosity overcoming her shock. "How did you come to Earth? The energy requirements for interstellar travel are astronomical." "My vessel utilized quantum tunneling technology, a method of space travel that exploits naturally occurring entangled regions between star systems." Arya's eyes widened. "The anomalous energy signatures I've been studying are likely evidence of these quantum bridges," Theron confirmed. "Your research independently identified what Lyria's people have been utilizing for centuries." "My arrival on Earth was unplanned. A catastrophic failure in my vessel's navigation system during quantum translation. Instead of emerging near my destination, I was pulled into your solar system. The damage prevented return travel." "I detected the anomalous energy signature when her ship entered Earth's atmosphere and reached her crash site before government agencies could respond." The implications began to cascade through Arya's mind. "You've been hiding her here, studying her technology while helping her, what, repair her ship?" "Communicate with her people," Theron corrected. "Her ship is beyond repair with Earth's current technology, but we believe we can modify her communication array to send a quantum-entangled signal that her people could detect." "Using the naturally occurring bridges I've been researching," Arya concluded, the scientific elegance of the solution striking her despite her lingering shock. "Precisely," Lyria confirmed. "Your work on identifying these bridges is remarkably advanced for your species' current understanding of quantum mechanics." The compliment from an extraterrestrial being who casually discussed quantum tunneling technology should have felt surreal. Instead, Arya found herself slipping into the familiar comfort of scientific discussion where complex problems created a framework that eased her social anxiety. "May I see your calculations?" she asked, gesturing toward the workstation. For the next several hours, Arya lost herself in collaboration with Theron and Lyria, examining the aliens' communication technology and comparing it with her own research. The quantum principles Lyria explained matched Arya's theories with uncanny precision, validating years of work that many of her professors had dismissed as overly speculative. As evening fell outside, Theron suggested they continue in the morning, offering Arya a guest suite for the night. The realization that she had spent an entire afternoon working comfortably alongside two others, one not even human, without a hint of her usual social anxiety, struck her as they ascended back to the main level of the facility. "You seem surprised," Theron observed as he showed her to the suite. "I am," I admitted. "I usually find extended social interaction difficult, but today was different." Theron nodded as if her response confirmed something. Purpose often transcends personal limitations. When the mind is fully engaged with meaningful work, social anxiety can temporarily recede. The insight suggested personal experience, making Arya wonder about the reclusive billionaire's own relationship with society. Before she could formulate a question, Theron wished her good night, leaving her with the promise of continued work in the morning. The guest suite was luxurious yet minimalist. A comfortable bed, private bathroom with rainfall shower, and floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of stars emerging above the mountains. As Arya prepared for sleep, watching stars through the panoramic windows, she realized that for the first time in years, her anxiety had been replaced by something more powerful: wonder. Morning arrived with golden light spilling across the mountains. Arya woke feeling unusually rested, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar surroundings before the previous day's events came rushing back. An automated message on a sleek tablet.
Celestial chaos. The International Space Exhibition hummed with excitement. Thousands of visitors moving through elaborate displays of humanity's latest ventures beyond Earth's atmosphere. Towering rocket models and holographic planetary systems filled the massive convention center. But Arya Novak kept her gaze fixed on the small map in her trembling hands. "Just get to the quantum physics presentation at 2 o'clock, she whispered to herself, a mantra against the anxiety that threatened to overwhelm her. Avoid the crowds, find a back row seat, then leave. Simple. Nothing about this was simple for her. At 26, Arya was a brilliant astrophysics graduate student whose research on interstellar anomalies had earned her a coveted spot in one of the nation's top doctoral programs. It had also earned her an invitation to this exhibition, where Dr. Elaine Sato, her academic idol, would be presenting groundbreaking research on quantum entanglement across vast distances. The only problem? Arya's severe social anxiety made navigating crowded spaces feel like moving through quicksand while struggling to breathe. She checked her watch. 1:40 p.m., 20 minutes to find the presentation hall on the opposite side of the exhibition. Arya tugged her oversized cardigan tighter around her slender frame, as if the soft fabric could shield her from the press of humanity. Taking a deep breath, she began weaving through the crowd, keeping close to the walls whenever possible. The exhibition's centerpiece loomed ahead, a massive structure called Earthrise, featuring a detailed lunar surface with a mechanical Earth slowly rising above its horizon. Tourists clustered around it, snapping photos and listening to guides explain the installation's significance. Arya would need to pass it to reach the quantum physics hall beyond. As she approached the installation, a child's excited voice rose above the general murmur. "Look how it moves!" Arya glanced up to see a boy pointing at the mechanical Earth, which had begun to rotate faster than its programmed speed. A security guard frowned, moving toward the control panel as an unsettling metallic groan emanated from within the structure. "Everyone step back, please," the guard called, his voice calm but firm. Most visitors began to move away, but a few lingered, cameras raised. The grinding sound intensified. Arya froze, her scientist's mind calculating trajectories as the massive Earth sphere's mounting began to visibly strain against its supports. "Move back now!" the guard shouted, urgency replacing calm. Too late. With a deafening crack, the primary support failed, sending the Earth sphere, nearly 8 feet in diameter and weighing hundreds of pounds, crashing down onto the lunar surface below. Debris exploded outward. Someone screamed, then everyone screamed. Panic rippled through the crowd like a shock wave. People turned, pushing blindly toward exits. Within seconds, the orderly exhibition transformed into a crushing mass of terrified humanity, rational thought replaced by primal survival instinct. Arya stood paralyzed, her anxiety spiking to unprecedented levels as people rushed past, jostling her from all sides. Her breathing came in sharp, insufficient gasps. The edges of her vision darkened. She needed to move, to find safety, but her body refused to respond, locked in the vice grip of panic. A particularly forceful surge of fleeing attendees knocked her off balance. As Arya began to fall, certain she would be trampled in the chaos, strong hands caught her, pulling her upright and against something solid. No, someone solid. "Stay with me," a deep voice commanded near her ear, somehow cutting through the cacophony. "Breathe." The voice belonged to a tall man who had created an improbable pocket of calm in the stampeding crowd. His broad shoulders and commanding presence seemed to part the human current around them like a boulder in a stream. With one arm securely around her waist, he guided them toward a recessed doorway, a service entrance partially hidden behind a planetary exhibit. "In here," he said, pressing against the door, which opened to his touch despite the authorized personnel-only sign. He guided Arya into the relative quiet of a maintenance corridor, the door closing behind them, immediately muffling the chaos. In the dimly lit hallway, Arya's breathing gradually steadied enough for her to properly see her rescuer. Recognition hit her like a physical blow. Theron Blackwood. Everyone in scientific circles knew of him, the reclusive tech billionaire whose aerospace innovations had revolutionized satellite technology and private space exploration. His company, Blackwood Technologies, held patents that NASA and SpaceX both licensed. He rarely appeared at public events, preferring to work in isolation at his legendary research compound, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. Yet here he stood, his angular features set in an expression of calm assessment as he studied her. Dark hair swept back from a high forehead, eyes an unusual shade that seemed to shift between gray and green in the low light. His tailored charcoal suit looked jarringly formal amid the emergency, not a wrinkle despite their recent escape. "Are you injured?" he asked, his voice measured and direct. Arya managed to shake her head, still fighting to control her breathing. "No, just panic attack." Something like recognition flickered across his features. "Anxiety disorder?" "Yes," she admitted, surprised by his fact-matter tone. Most people responded with awkward pity or dismissive platitudes. "Focus on my voice," he said, maintaining a respectful distance despite the narrow corridor. "The danger has passed. The stampede is moving away from us. We're in a service corridor that leads to a staff exit on the east side of the building." The precise information acted like an anchor, giving Arya's racing mind something concrete to grasp. Her breathing slowed further. "Thank you," she said, when she could finally speak normally. "I froze. If you hadn't—" "No need," he interrupted, his expression unreadable. "Crowd panic is predictable, but preventable. The exhibition organizers failed to implement proper emergency protocols. You were simply caught in the resulting chaos." His clinical analysis, devoid of emotional judgment, was oddly comforting to Arya. As her panic subsided, embarrassment began to take its place. She'd been rescued like a helpless child by Theron Blackwood, of all people. "I should go," she said, straightening her cardigan and reaching for the professional dignity she maintained in academic settings. "The quantum physics presentation has been cancelled along with all other events following the incident," Theron finished for her. He checked a sleek device on his wrist. "The authorities are clearing the exhibition center now. All presentations scheduled for today will be postponed." Disappointment washed over Arya. Her carefully gathered courage, the weeks of mental preparation for this outing, all wasted. Dr. Sato's presentation had been her primary reason for forcing herself to attend the exhibition. Something in her expression must have revealed her thoughts, because Theron tilted his head slightly, studying her with newfound interest. "You're here for the quantum entanglement presentation," he said, not a question, but an observation. "Dr. Sato's research on maintaining quantum states across vast distances." Surprise momentarily displaced Arya's disappointment. "Yes. How did you—" "The program in your hand." He nodded toward the crumpled exhibition guide she still clutched. "Page open to the quantum physics schedule. Given your age and the notebook visible in your bag, likely a graduate student in a related field." His deduction was impressive, if somewhat disconcerting in its accuracy. Arya felt suddenly exposed, as if he could read her research notes from across the corridor. "I am complete